Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. My Karen wife is demanding my daughter's college fund be given to her son. I, 39 male, am a father to my daughter who's 18. Let's call her Emma. My first wife and I were middle school sweethearts. Emma was a happy accident and we were thrilled to be parents to her, but my wife passed while giving birth to her. I had just graduated and started a job and I failed to juggle a kid in the career. So I remarried in a year and a half to my second wife, who's 42. Let's call her Sam. She was also struggling raising her son, Tom, due to financial difficulties. It was a marriage of convenience, and we were very open about that. She would be stay-at-home raising both kids, while I would provide financially for them. There were ups and downs along the road, but we made it work. Sam always gave her son preferential treatment, as in emotionally, which I never took issue with. After all, she was my daughter and not hers. But I always provided equally for both of them, because I always felt obligated to be fair with both of them. There were not any major issues growing up. Both kids maintained a healthy relationship with each other while maintaining a bit of distance. Both care for each other, and we never asked for more. My first wife and I both had an insurance policy. It was paid out when she passed. For some reason, we once randomly talked about what we would do with the money if one of us had passed. We both decided it would go to our kids, and if we didn't have a kid, then the surviving spouse should travel the world. I've kept that money in a trust that has grown over the age of 17 years and has been yielding significant profits, and now it's quite a bit of money. I've never borrowed even a penny from it because it belongs to my daughter and I'm just the guardian. This year, both kids applied to college and Emma got into an Ivy League school with a full scholarship. Our plan was if Emma did not get the scholarship, I would pay her tuition with the trust. Tom also applied for Ivy League and got admission, but no scholarship. He and I both discussed our options, and I told her that while I can help him with living expenses while he pursues his studies, I can't afford the tuition without getting a massive hit. He was understanding, and he said that he'll take out a loan for it. It was settled then, or at least I thought it was. One night, Sam asked me if I can pay her son's tuition with the payout. She knows the width of that policy. I was startled for a second, but I said I would think about it. I delayed it because I wanted to ask Emma whether she wanted to help Tom out because I've always let her make decisions on her own as I feel it's the important part of parenting. I wanted to ask her alone without Sam present because Sam can be quite a bit pushy, and I wanted Emma to make a decision on her own without any pressure because she's the sweetest kid who would rather be hurt than hurt anyone else. I explained the whole thing to my daughter and I asked what she wants to do. She asked me what I think she should do, and I told her that I have no opinion, but no matter what decision she makes, it will not change anything between us. She will always be my world. She told me that she wanted to travel the world with me, as her mom wanted with half of the money, and invest the rest so she can have extra cash flow. She asked me for the weekend to think about it, which I was happy to give her. On the weekend, she texted me to come into her room. She asked me to explain the profit yields, the amount, and everything related to the amount, which I did. After contemplating, she decided that she can pay for half of Tom's tuition while touring the world and maintaining healthy cash flow. I stressed on her that if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to. Tom is not her responsibility, but she said she wanted to help out her brother. During a family meeting, she told this to Tom in front of Sam and I. Tom teared up and hugged her and he was very grateful. I noticed Sam was a bit off, but I ignored it. We all went out for dinner. In bed, Sam asked me who decided about Tom's tuition. I told her about the whole situation. Sam was shocked for whatever reason. She said that I didn't have to ask Emma, and I could have made the decision on my own as it wasn't Emma's money. I told her in plain words that she does not get a say in that since it was decided between me and Emma's mother what we would do with the money. Then she said, why didn't I involve her during the discussions with Emma? And by this time, I was on the edge, and I told her because it was none of her darn business. She said that she would talk to Emma, and Emma can pay for her brother's full tuition, and traveling the world is not necessary. I calmly, yet firmly told her that she would not say a word to Emma about this, and the matter is closed. After a week, I was out with my colleagues when I received a text from Tom that I should come home immediately. I rushed home. I was there in 10 minutes. Sam was shouting at Emma how she should pay for Tom's tuition, and Emma was crying. Tom was trying to calm his mother down and to get her to shut up, but to no avail. I told her to stop and go to her bedroom as politely as I could because I didn't want to insult her in front of Tom, because after all, she is his mother. I picked Emma up and was taking her to her room when I heard Sam yell, "You were always a monster. You ended your mother while coming into this world. And this was the end point. I told Sam that I'm going out and I will come back in 2 days and she better be gone when I get back. I took Emma with me and asked Tom if he wanted to come with us. Tom was reluctant, but eventually came with us. I drove them to nearby Hilltown and got us checked in. Emma was crying all the way, and I just let her after a few initial tries to calm her down. The next morning when we had breakfast, Emma had still been crying, and Tom basically got on his knees and apologized for his mother's behavior. Emma told him that it wasn't his fault. We three had a heart-to-heart discussion once Emma and I had talked in privacy, where Emma was reassured that she wasn't responsible for anything. Emma will still be paying half of Tom's tuition. I also talked to Tom and told him that I would be divorcing his mother, and there's no turning back from that. But that doesn't have to change my relationship with him unless he thinks otherwise. He asked me to consider my decision, and I asked him if what I was doing was unfair. He said no, and he understood. By the time we got home, my parents were already there and Sam was gone. My parents asked about what had happened, and apparently, Sam had only fed them half the story, and I told them the whole thing. They were furious, but tried to lower the temperature and asked if there was any way to make amends. I told them that my decision is final. I've served Sam with papers with a fair amount of alimony, along with a one-bedroom apartment since she made our home while I worked, despite the prenup which eliminated any prospects of alimony or division of assets. In the meantime, our relatives and friends have been asking me to reconsider it. While they do not condone what happened, they want me to make space for her. Sam also reached out to Emma and apologized for her behavior. Emma asked me to reconsider my decision as she has forgiven Sam and feels like there won't be any friction since she has already left for college. I am not willing to roll back because whatever affection I had for Sam is gone. I don't think it will ever be the same if we get back together, and there's no changing this lack of feelings for her. So I'm asking objective and impartial Redditors for any advice on what to do here. Yikes! A few things stick out to me. Marriage of convenience? Sam didn't really have a bond with Emma. Sam always favored her son. Sam thinking Emma had no say over her inheritance. How Sam berated Emma despite her generous offer to pay for half of an Ivy League school. Then the topper, what Sam said about her mom. Some things can never be taken back. Sam doesn't seem like a very caring person. I think you're doing the right thing and very generous offering alimony. After what Sam said to your daughter, I would divorce her. Seriously, you're your daughter's only living parent. She relies on you to defend her in all things. Sam showed her true colors over money that wasn't even hers. Let her go. You don't need that in your and Emma's life. I'm going to jail in 7 hours. What's something I should do before I go? It's only for a month, but I feel like there's something I'm not remembering. I've unplugged appliances and such, done my laundry and cleaned up. I took the trash out, made sure my bills are good until I'm out. No food that's going to expire while I'm gone. Is there anything simple that I may have forgotten? Update. Hi everyone, I'm back. I'll do a detailed update after work, but overall it was boring. I have plenty more to share, but all in all, 2 out of 10, don't recommend. I'll start off by saying jail is not very fun, that's for sure. So after I made this post, before it blew up, I did a last check of my apartment, made sure my bills were good, and I got someone to check on my place. My sister came by and picked me up around noon. We did some fun things and went to watch Across the Spider-Verse, which was really good. After that, we hit up the Wendy's by the jail for my proverbial last supper. Honestly, I was very anxious, so I had to pretty much force myself to eat it, but I'm glad I did. I turned myself in at exactly 6 p.m. to the jail. Initially, they didn't even know I was supposed to show up, but they got that squared away pretty quickly. First, they had me sign some paperwork and get a little medical checkup, just vitals and some questions. Next, they had me take a shower. They gave me some anti-lice shampoo that made my scalp and body incredibly cold. Next, they gave me my jail clothes and had me go through a full body scan to make sure I wasn't carrying anything I shouldn't be. They give orange jumpsuits to inmates who have been arrested but are waiting court, gray to inmates who have been sentenced, me, and white clothes to the workers. Workers have their clothes and towels changed out every day, while everyone else got them switched on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. They also gave us new clothes on Sundays. After I was dressed and clean enough, they sent me back to the intake dorm, so to speak. This was a room with 24 cells in it, 12 on top, 12 on bottom. There was a common area with 6 tables and a TV, as well as a pull-up bar that you could also do dips on. This specific jail doesn't have outside recreation time anymore because the state says a pull-up bar is enough to count as recreation time. So basically, I was inside a room with nearly no windows for my sentence. My cell here was about 12 feet long and 7 feet wide. It had a sink, toilet, and a desk in it. The bed was a metal rack with about an inch of foam to lay on. We didn't get pillows, but we got 2 sheets and a wool blanket that was very itchy. I used the wool blanket as my pillow and covered up with a sheet, while using the other sheet to act as a barrier between me and the foam. Luckily for me, I'm a very warm sleeper because the jail was kept very cold at all times. Since the intake dorm is a medium security block, we had it locked down in our cells from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. as well as 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day. At 6 a.m. sharp, they turn all the lights on and announce, "Head count," on the speaker. This means I had to get out of my bed and go stand by the cell door while the guards came around and made sure that no one escaped overnight. If you didn't get out of bed, they locked you in your cell for 24 hours until the next morning. After that, I would lay back down and try to sleep until breakfast came at 7. Breakfast was generally cereal with milk, peanut butter with toast, and either apple or orange juice. The food menu was the same every week. After breakfast, I always went back to my cell to lay down and try to get some more sleep, but the intake dorm was incredibly loud. People couldn't seem to have a conversation without yelling. People were playing dominoes and cards from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., slapping them on the table. No one had any respect for other people, basically because it's a bunch of literal criminals who just got to jail. Not to mention how bright the lights were. What I'm saying is, there wasn't many nap opportunities in that block. Since I couldn't sleep much, I read my books. Library was every Wednesday morning. Luckily, my first morning there, could check out 4 books. Brushed up on my spades, learned how to play tonk, played a bit of poker too. I played some chess and lost a game to an old man. I was thinking all day about how bad I wanted to play him again, only for him to get released right after dinner. I still want that rematch, Randy. Sometime before lunch, I would shower. In this dorm, there were 2 separate single-person showers. They were very small and way too hot. Don't even think about stepping foot in there without your sandals on. Also, don't touch the walls or the curtain. Basically, don't touch anything but the button that makes the water come out. The showers were nastier than any shower I've had to use in my many years playing hockey. Now, I went in on a Tuesday night and immediately put in a commissary order of shampoo, conditioner, soap, toothpaste, some ramen, candy. You get it, the essentials. I got all of that on Thursday morning, which was nice, until I realized I forgot to buy deodorant. Yay. I'm very serious about my personal hygiene, and commissary didn't come again until the next Tuesday, so that was a rough week for me. Honestly, it didn't make much of a difference since half of the people in there didn't shower or brush their teeth at all, making the dorm smell unique, to put it lightly. The toothbrush they give to the inmates is a grand total of 2 inches long, which wasn't very effective. The reason is so no weapons can be made with it. But they also gave us a very long spoon that could be used to hurt someone, so I call BS. Anyway, after all that, lunch came around noon. We would eat and lounge about some more until 1 p.m. when they locked us in our cells. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. it was generally pretty quiet since everyone was in their own space, so naturally I slept as much as I could, because why would I want to be conscious in jail when I don't have to be? When 3 p.m. came around, they did head count again, and again, if you weren't fully dressed by your cell door, they would lock you in your cell for 24 hours. I never had this happen, but I sure witnessed it happening plenty. Usually it was because someone was withdrawing or something, and they were understandably depressed about being incarcerated. After that, we would do the same crap, just waiting around until more food came. Dinner was sometime between 5:30 and 6. I guess I'll post the food menu here since you're all wanting to know. I'll preface by saying that the county jail that I went to has a reputation, unbeknownst to me, for actually having good food compared to other jails in my state. I would compare it to the school lunches I got in high school. Not amazing, but it was edible, and for that, I feel lucky. So here's the menu. Monday, breakfast, sausage and cheese McMuffin, delicious. Hash brown, juice, milk. Lunch, mac and cheese, not bad. Either cucumber salad or zucchini and milk. Dinner, sloppy joe with a biscuit, peas and carrots, bread and butter. And each day of the week we had different things on the menu. Some of them were pretty good, but some of them weren't very good at all. All of the meat was turkey or chicken. After dinner, we did a whole lot of nothing until 9 p.m. when they locked us down. My block actually had one inmate who was waiting to be sentenced on an arson charge and who was considered dangerous, so he wasn't allowed around other inmates and was on 23-hour lockdown. His 1 hour of free time was from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. when we were all locked in our cells, and this guy was crazy. Anyway, at 10 p.m. they turned the lights off, but it never actually gets dark in jail. This posed a problem for me because I have serious trouble falling asleep as it is, so I would read until I got sleepy enough, then use my shirt to cover my eyes and doze off. Usually I was pretty hungry at bedtime, so I would eat a ramen before I brushed my teeth. There wasn't a microwave in the intake dorm, so I would fill my bowl of noodles with warm water until the noodles get soft. Then I would dump that water out and put new warm water in and mix in the seasoning. The cell's sink water only got to about 100 degrees, so it wasn't very good, but it was food, so I'm not complaining. The food they served us was good enough, but there was never very much of it, so I had to make do with what I had. For reference, I'm 5'11" and about 165 pounds. I've always been active and have a physically engaging job, so I eat a bit more and burn more calories. I would end up falling asleep sometime around 1 or 2 a.m. most days until 6 a.m. when it started all over again. After a weekend there, they finally moved me back to the minimum security dorm. This was a room about the size of a gymnasium with much lower ceilings. There were a total of 78 beds, 19 bunk beds on the back wall, with 2 rows of 20 single beds just in front of them. There was a communal bathroom with 3 urinals, 3 toilets, and cleaner to use before every movement, and 6 shower heads. Despite the 6 showers, we could only use one at a time, apparently with the exception of the guy who just hopped in there with me for a few minutes, cleaned, and went about his day. There was a guard desk with a guard there 24/7. 95% of the time, the guards were scrolling TikTok or playing online poker, paying no attention to the inmates, and even less attention to the showers that were 25 feet away from us. The other 5%, they would walk from bunk to bunk looking for stashes of fruit or unmade beds. We had a couple shakedowns where they tear the whole place up looking for contraband. Nothing really came of them though. The intake dorm also had a vending machine stocked with ramen, candy, other sweets like honey buns and cinnamon rolls, and things of that nature. Soda, coffee, sugar, you get the idea. A commissary to go machine, if you will. Everything from the vending machines was also less expensive, $1 for ramen instead of $1.40. There were also 2 microwaves and 2 TVs. One TV always had ESPN or some other sports channel, the other on a movie or show. The minimum dorm also didn't lock down from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and didn't lock down at night until 10 p.m. So while you sacrificed your privacy, the microwave and vending machine were too good to pass up, so everyone stayed in there. Oh, also the cot you slept on was actually somewhat comfortable, as much as foam on a metal rack can be, I guess. All of the workers stayed here as well as most non-violent offenders who weren't a nuisance. There were a couple of fights in here though, and the people involved got immediately sent to the hole. Yes, it's a real thing. Basically a cell with no TV, no other people, no commissary. Basically nothing at all but your thoughts and the occasional tray of food to tell you what time it is. I luckily did not have to check it out for myself. The days went by the same way in minimum, except I didn't get a nap from 1 to 3 p.m., so I got even less sleep in there. I did, however, get to read more books, so it wasn't all that bad. The only things to do were sleep, eat, read, play cards, maybe a little chess if you're feeling froggy that day, or sit on a metal seat and watch TV. The seats were unbearable for more than an hour. A lot of people also walked laps or did pull-ups on their machine that was supposed to be our recreational area. Did I mention we weren't allowed outside? Yeah, I'm still a bit salty about that, so I'll say it again. There were phones in each dorm to use. After your one free call, using the phone cost 21 cents per minute, which is expensive, so I used it sparingly. There was one guy who was arrested on some crazy drug charges in there, awaiting his trial. He used the phone for 8 hours a day, I'm not exaggerating. He also didn't speak any English and would sometimes start screaming into the phone. He actually got sent back to the secure dorms because he missed head count, because he was on the phone. I feel like there's a lot I'm missing, and it'll all come to me later. But for now, I'll wrap it up. Jail is not a fun place to be, never has been, never will be. That said, I deserved it and I did the time. Lastly, stay positive. Life is too short to spend it any other way. For those wondering what he did, based on his post history, it was drunk driving. Am I the jerk for refusing to drive to my wife's monthly family get-together? My wife, 33 female, and I, 35 male, have been married for 3 years. Her family is very tight-knit, and every month they have a family get-together at my wife's parents' house. It's always on Sundays because my wife's siblings have kids, and they all have activities on Saturdays, so Sunday is the only free day everyone has. They live a 3-hour drive from us. We always make it a day trip because obviously we have to work on Monday. Needless to say, it's a lot of driving in one day. The get-together is usually just a nice meal and some games, nothing too fancy or crazy. I like her family and enjoy hanging out with them, but there have been times when I don't feel like going, and there's no hard feelings about not attending. The problem is that if I don't attend, my wife doesn't attend. She's a very anxious driver, especially on freeways and highways where aggressive drivers and semi-trucks tend to be more common. She's never been in an accident or anything like that. She just doesn't feel comfortable driving long distances on freeways with speeding cars. It really freaks her out. So if I don't go, she won't drive herself there. There also isn't anyone else from her family that lives nearby that could pick her up without adding at least 2 hours to their drive. Last month, we didn't attend because I had just gotten back from a work trip and I wanted to use that weekend to relax at home. My wife and in-laws understood. This month's get-together is coming up Sunday. My wife is adamant that we attend this one because we missed the last one. I told her I'll go, but she's going to have to drive at least one leg of the trip. I don't want to be driving for 6 hours like every other time. This started a fight because she said I know how much she hates driving on freeways, and that's too far of a drive for her to keep from freaking out. I told her that if she wants to keep driving 6 hours in a day to see her family every month, then she's going to need to start driving at least half of it, because I'm tired of doing all that driving myself. I told her that I'll be with her in the car and will be a good co-pilot to keep her calm and focused, unlike when I drive and she buries her face in her phone for 2/3 of the drive. I told her we can take it slow and easy, and it will be good practice for her to become more comfortable with that type of driving. She's not agreeing to this and is insisting that I drive like every other time because of her anxiety about it. I'm refusing to budge and told her that this is something for her family, so she needs to start putting in at least some effort to make it happen. She thinks I'm being a jerk about it and not taking her feelings into consideration and being dismissive of her anxiety. We've not come to an argument on this yet, but I really don't want to give in. Driving 6 hours in a day can be exhausting, and I'm tired of being the only one to do it, especially when it's every month. Not the jerk. Honestly, I think you're approaching it very fairly. 6 hours of driving is definitely a lot. It's not fair for her to expect you to bear that entire burden every time to visit her family without driving at least part of the distance, and you pointing out that you'll be there supporting her as a co-pilot is the right approach. I can understand how anxiety makes driving scary and hard for some people, but also, it's really not fair to expect you to be the only one making the sacrifice here. That said, have you guys considered maybe going on Saturday, even if most of the family isn't available, and just entertaining yourselves that day or visiting with the family that aren't busy? It might make for a more relaxing experience for both of you if you're not cramming the driving into a single day. It might depend on if her family has a place to put you up, or if you can get a hotel or Airbnb nearby, but still an option. OP. My wife has actually suggested going there on Saturdays before, but honestly, I don't want to sacrifice my entire weekend every month to see her family. One Sunday a month, fine, that's doable, because at least I can have Saturday to do something I want to do. But the entire weekend every month is too much. Am I the jerk if I asked my girlfriend to put on some makeup for a party? So just typing out that title, it sounds terrible. I love my girlfriend. I love the way she looks. I love her humor, everything. We've been dating since college and we're now almost 30. It hurt to type almost 30. I was invited to a birthday party by some new friends recently, and they asked me if my girlfriend was coming. I always talk about her and hype her up, so they were all excited to meet her. The day of the party comes and she looks amazing. She had some nice jeans on and a cute crop top. I noticed she wasn't wearing any makeup, so I asked her if she was going to put some on. She took this terribly and made it sound like I was making her out as some sort of trophy. Keep in mind, I never ask this from her. When we go out on dates, I could care less what she looks like. It's also not like she never wears makeup. Whenever she goes out with the girls, she always uses it. At least for me, if I were being introduced to some friends of my girlfriend, I would try to look my absolute best for her. I want to look as good as I can to make her look good as well. We're practically married at this point, and I see her as an extension of myself and vice versa. I also understand I have no say or control in what she wants to do or wear, so I most likely am the jerk for even asking it. Give it to me straight. Am I the jerk? Edit. Very clear I'm the jerk. I won't make that mistake again. Info. Do you put on makeup when you meet her friends? You said you want to look your absolute best after all. You're the jerk. I don't even know where to begin. She's not a show pony. It's not her job to look hot for your friends. You're the jerk. It's funny how you try to deny treating her like a trophy and then sit there and explain how you want to treat her like a trophy and how you wouldn't have a problem with it if the tables were flipped. She isn't a fancy toy to show off. She's her own individual. Who the heck are your friends, and why should she be all that concerned about impressing them? Practically married still isn't married. It isn't even a thing. Even if you were married, that still wouldn't excuse your behavior or mindset. Maybe it's because I'm not from America, so could be culture differences, but I feel like you guys just look for reasons to be upset with your boyfriends or husbands. If my husband made such a simple request of me, I would do it. I respect him and appreciate all he does for me. 5 minutes of putting on makeup to make him happy would not be a problem. And let's be honest, we all know we look better with makeup. Why do you think they always do makeup for films and shows? I also know that if I asked a simple request of my husband, like putting on a nicer shirt or style his hair in a way I like, he would do it and not be upset or feel offended. When I was younger, I wondered why so many American men moved to my country and married my people instead of their own. But Reddit has shown me why that is. Edit. Yes, I am from the Philippines, but no, I would not blindly do anything my husband asks of me just because we're married. If he asked me to jump off a bridge, I would tell him you first. But something that takes 5 minutes, no problem, babe. It is no wonder your marriage rates are declining along with your birth rates. You always find a reason to paint yourselves as the victim, and anyone who does that is exhausting, whether they are a man or a woman. Also, to the foolish person who said my husband probably mistreats me, you have no clue what you're talking about. In my country, we still have God. Your country is the one where God is no longer followed, and that's why you have most of the problems you do. My heart honestly breaks for you and your families, and I hope you all one day heal from the bitterness that has consumed you. Oh, you know Reddit's not going to be happy about her. What would you do if I asked you to put on makeup, Karen? You'd need a new head. Company said all bonuses would be even, so I complied. I used to work at a bank. I won't name it, but I'm sure you guys won't have a problem guessing which bank it is. Anyways, my position was banker, and as a banker anywhere, you're paid bonus based on how well you do. The more bank accounts, credit cards, and personal loans you write out, the higher your bonus. For context, I've always been hardworking and dedicated to my job, especially at this job, because it was my first big girl job, and I was the youngest banker, 19 years old at the time, in my branch. I mainly felt like I had something to prove. So on average, I would try to do my best at my job. I wasn't lazy like a lot of people I worked with, and I wasn't afraid to learn how to do new things. For example, opening trust accounts or business accounts, etc. Now, a lot of things happened with this bank. It was getting sued left and right because some bankers were starting bank accounts without customers' consent. For the record, I never did this, but I did experience the intense pressure from my boss to sell, sell, sell. To give you an example of the pressure, if a certain amount of accounts goal wasn't hit, my boss would have a one-on-one every time it happened, a little before the workday would end, and say, "What did you do today to try to help you reach your goal? Why didn't you reach your goal? What will you do different tomorrow?" So you pretty much leave the bank that day feeling like crap. Anyways, once the lawsuit went public, the bank wanted to do some bonus changes to say it's changing its bank culture and blah blah blah. They changed it a couple times. The first was where goals weren't as high, but still based on individual sales. And then finally they decided to change it to where everyone in one branch would receive the same amount. The day we got the news about the bonus, my boss was super corporate about it and read the letter in bank terminology. So literally everyone in that meeting wasn't grasping the concept. So I raised my hand just to make sure I understood, and I asked, "Okay, so what you're saying is if I open 9 accounts and my coworker opens 2 at the end of the quarter, we're going to get paid the same?" She responded, "Yes." So I smirked and said, "Okay, just making sure I understand." Later that same day, I got asked to my boss's office and got in trouble because of having a negative attitude at the meeting. I told her I was simply making sure everyone understood what she was saying, to which she said that next time I should talk to her in private if I needed to clarify. What a jerk. Needless to say, from that day on, I never really tried as much. I mean, my bonus was just as much as the laziest person there, so what was in it for me to really try? I got talked to about it a couple times, but my response was always, "I'm doing just as well as everyone else," and it would end at that. I ended up leaving that job not too long after that, and I gotta say, I'm much happier for it. Excuse me? You want me to wash the windows? This happened more than 3 decades ago, when I was at the beginning of my working career. As a youth, I didn't really know upwards from downwards, and I was just happy that I had a steady job and a salary. The job itself didn't matter. As long as I had a job, I was happy. I was an operator of the production machine, which didn't really need higher education to operate, but it required a person to watch over it in case of some production hiccup or another error happened. Most of the machines ran just fine, and the operator's job was to put in materials or parts into it every now and then and to watch over it, and that was what I did. All in all, a very simple entry-level job. Then one day, one of my coworkers came up to me and told me that our manager required me to wash the windows of the factory today. I was kind of dumbfounded for a moment, and then I joked and told him, sure. At first, I thought it was a joke. I told him that I have to watch over my own work here, so was he sure about this? He told me that yes, that's what he was told to tell me. Well, I didn't quite believe what I had heard, and next lunch break, I went to look for the manager and asked if it was so. The manager told me that the windows are dirty and haven't been washed for years, so it's time to clean them, and that I should start right away. I was just like, oh, okay. He was naturally being cheap since he didn't want to hire some outsider to do it, and wanted to use me as a youngster to do the extra work. I went back to my work spot, thought a little bit on what to do and where to start, where to get the equipment, etc. Then I turned the machine I was operating off and began to work with the windows. The factory, while it wasn't too large, it wasn't small either, and some of the windows were pretty high up, so it wasn't quick work either at cases. But I was told what to do, and so I complied. My estimate was that it would take several days, if not the whole week, to finish the job. After the second day, someone noticed the parts were beginning to pile up at my spot, which was, of course, because there was no one there doing the process and the machine was offline. On the third day, someone found me washing the windows at one corner of the factory and asked what I was doing. Everyone was worried where I was and why the production line had stalled up since no one was operating the machine where I was supposed to be. They practically pulled me back to the manager and told him what had happened. I explained that I had been doing what I was told earlier and I was about halfway done, and that I can't be in two places at once. There were other managers present as well, and they all turned to look at the guy who had instructed me in the first place. We workers were told to leave, and I was told to go to my original job and start up my machine ASAP, and that if I want, I can do as much overtime as I want until the production quota has been reached. I believe they had some discussion among the managers behind the closed doors after we left. It took me a while, but I got a nice overtime bonus from that in the end. They also hired someone to wash the rest of the windows as well. My Karen wife is refusing to help with our baby. She has been evaluated for PPD multiple times by multiple doctors, and she does not have it. I, 28 male, have been with my wife, who's 29, for 7 years. I love her with all my heart, but I'm really upset with her right now. A little over a year ago, my wife announced that she was pregnant. I'm not going to lie, I was jumping for joy at the idea of being a father. She was on the pill, and to my knowledge took it perfectly, but I guess we fell into that 1% where birth control fails. I suggested not having it, but she wanted to keep the baby, so we went through with the pregnancy. My whole view has changed now that my son, who's 5 months old, is here. All of my worries and apprehensions melted away the first time I held him. However, I realized very quickly that my wife was not doing her share of childcare. We both work from home, but I'm the only one who gets up when he's crying to feed, change, or soothe him. She didn't want to naturally feed him, which is totally fine, but she has only fed him a handful of times in the past 5 months. She refuses to get up at night, so all of his nighttime care is on me. I can count on one hand the amount of diapers she's changed. I was lenient at first because I understand birth is very taxing on the body and can be traumatic, but I have seen no improvement in the past 5 months despite talking to her multiple times and telling her I need help. I'm exhausted. When I bring it up, she says she'll try harder, but she never does. Obviously, PPD and other such mental health issues were an immediate concern, but all of the doctors we went to said she doesn't fit the criteria. She loves our son, cuddles him and plays with him, but doesn't do any of the hard work like feeding and diaper changes. She's not gotten up at night a single time. I reached the end of my rope yesterday when my son would not stop crying. I was doing my best to soothe him, and my wife had the audacity to look up from the TV and complain that he was being too loud and to take him in another room. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I yelled at her and told her she's being a horrible mother. She was deeply upset by this and went to stay with her parents, leaving me and my son at home. Now she's calling me a jerk and has my in-laws texting me and calling me to tell me how much of a horrible jerk I am. I'm just so tired. I feel like a single parent. I do feel bad because I know what I said was mean, but I am also so angry that she's enjoying the good parts of parenting while I'm stuck with the hard parts. She goes out with friends and does fun things and partakes in her hobbies while I stay home with our baby. I have not gotten a day to myself in 5 months. Am I the jerk? Edit. She has nothing medically wrong with her, mentally, physically, or otherwise. I see a lot of people suggesting that something must be wrong, but I'm telling you, she has had mental and physical checkups and is completely fine from a medical standpoint. No PPD, no hormone imbalances, no mental illness. I don't know how many times I have to make this clear. You're the jerk. So your wife is pretty much acting the way that most dads do. But let me guess, it's too shocking for you because she's a woman. Honestly, men act that way and get away with it constantly. It's about time that us moms get a break while you dads step up and at least try to be a parent. Also, no matter what you're throwing a fit about, you have no excuse to yell at her. That's a major red flag, and I hope she dumps you. She deserves so much better. Have you considered a night nurse and/or a nanny? You mentioned that she came from a wealthy family, so she's probably used to having things taken care of for her. You are absolutely not the jerk for having this all come to a head, but if she's not going to put in the work, either you or someone else has to. She's shown you that she's not going to do it. Your options are to continue at your status quo, leave, or find some help to get through this if you want to stay together. Can you lean on her family to help support this? Not the jerk. Look, bud, as parents, we always have duties to fulfill. Your wife isn't playing her part as a mother. I know I'll get downvoted to heck for this because we're on Reddit, but she needs to do better. If she isn't willing to change her ways, which she's proven by now, you should not stay with her. Good luck trying to get custody of your kid, what with you being a man and all. We all know courts aren't big fans of us when it comes to custody situations, but if your kid stays with this sorry excuse of a mom, it will have a seriously bad impact on their upbringing. Please do everything you can to get custody of your kid when you leave, and try to find a good life partner who can be the mother that your kid deserves. Edit. Holy downvotes, Batman. What I love the most is how, if the roles were reversed, y'all would be calling him a deadbeat dad. But of course, since the mom is the lazy deadbeat, you all stick up for her and make excuses. Reddit Logic 101. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Wow, she sounds even lazier than you are, Reddit boy. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.